Wowee. Man, it's late out night here, but I thought I would make a video about this certain situation that has had a little bit of a resurgence in popularity. Of course, I'm talking about Leonhart again. But before we get there, I'd like to say that I didn't really plan on making this video. I was a little bit hesitant. I wasn't really sure. And a lot of people are going to think that's a joke because it's kind of a gag when a person wants to talk about something. They'll say, well, I really didn't want to make this video, but in actuality, they really did want to make the video. I was generally confused of whether I actually want to post a video about this subject. Because on one hand, whenever I post a video on something or somebody, they will get hate, regardless of how fair or unbiased I am in the videos. Unfortunately, that's just how the game works. I mean, there's plenty of commentary channels that try to be fair, try to look at two, opposing sides and give their personal perspective on it. But again, if you value free speech, there are always going to be hateful comments. And I'm a person that values free speech. So technically, I enable hateful comments on my videos because I do respect people's ability to do that, even if I personally do not condone it and I actually do not like it. Then I remember that, hey, at the end of the day, this is a news channel, this is a commentary channel, and I vow to say my opinion on a subject if I truly want to. And in this case, I want to talk about this to some extent because I definitely do think there's some important elements that I don't feel like a lot of people are highlighting. So as you know, recently Leonhart had a little bit of a resurgence regarding his Tradeup challenge video. Now I feel like this kind of started to get a little bit more traction when Kira posted her video interviewing a person that was in that Tradeup challenge. She was the person that gave Leonhart one of her favorite Mew cards for a graded energy card. Not the best trade in all honesty, and I feel like a lot of people share that sentiment in Leonhart's comments. And to be honest, I completely agree with that. In fact, I think that sentiment can be applied for pretty much the whole entire video. A quick recap of what that video was, if you have missed my other coverage about it, I'll summarize it as short as I can. Leonhart did a trade-up challenge from a Mew coin all the way up to a Sunbreon. It's a Moonbreon. And during the process, a lot of people have noticed that he was doing a lot of unfair trades. When he would walk up to these vendors, he would sometimes double, triple, quadruple the value of the product slash card that he walked up to them with. A lot of people thought that was highly unrealistic and a little bit scummy. It felt like he was using his privileged position, his high profile, to milk a lot of these vendors out of their products and cards. Now, at the end of the day, they had the right to deny and to say no. But others noted that sticking a camera in a vendor's face will make them inclined to make a very unreasonable trade, especially if it means they get a lot of exposure. There was an instance where a vendor said allegedly that he and Leonhart came to a agreement that in exchange for doing this very favorable trade, Leonhart would shout out the vendor's pop-up event that he would be doing in the future. Long story short, that never happened in Leonhart's final video, so that vendor was pretty pissed. Now, there was a lot of multiple goofy moments in Leonhart's video, but I'm not going to cover them all. But that's pretty much the general recap of why a lot of people had an issue with it, what kind of went down. Now, obviously, noticing the backlash, Leonhart did a response post on Twitter. He basically did a roundabout apology, if you will. It wasn't really an apology. He was basically taking responsibility for doing that video and says he will learn and he will do better in the future. He's not going to do that type of videos anymore, which is, I think, a positive thing that we could all agree on. Come on, little Timmy that is writing a whole paragraph targeting Leonhart in the comments. You could at least acknowledge that this was a good thing. He was trying to improve. That being said, that apology had a lot of holes. For example, he mentioned that in his video, he said that he was going to give that card away, or at least in other future videos. However, if you go back to that video, you'll see that that was never mentioned. So obviously, people had a lot of mixed messages of whether he did in fact wanted to do a giveaway all along, after he traded up to a Umbreon, or did he intend to just keep it to himself, or maybe even do another trade up challenge where he traded up the Umbreon to an even bigger box, or hey, maybe even an actual Moonbreon PSA 10. I guess we'll never know. But at the very least, there was a lot of miscommunication and people didn't like that. Another thing about his apology that didn't quite age well was his response about the Mew girl, or Courtney as they call her, the person that traded her Mew card for a graded energy card. He said, quote, "Courtney is a incredible person and fan of the channel, and we did all we can to be informed of any value of cards in a trade before acceptance, along with myself mentioning multiple times that she did not have to accept the trade." Which at the end of the day is very true. She didn't need to accept it, but obviously if you are a fan and a very famous creator that you look up to walks up to you, obviously you're going to be enthralled. You're going to be, you know, all over the place, and you're probably going to do everything in your power to make him happy and to leave an impression of some sort. It was kind of her to do the trade up challenge as a thanks. Indeed it was. I told her to email me right after we did the trade so I can send her a special thanks for helping me out. Some very nice cards. So this whole thing aged very poorly because Kira actually interviewed Courtney, the Mew girl, and apparently she had a big change of heart about this whole entire situation.
I understand why your perspective has changed over time. Watching stuff back like that and maybe like hearing other people's perspectives too, like I understand why maybe now you're kind of looking at it and being like, yeah, I'm uncomfortable with this, you know?
Yeah. And it's also weird too, like coming across like commentary videos of it and like seeing my face more places, then I'm like, oh, like, am I an example now of like what not to do in a trade? Because like it was a bad trade. Like, let's be so for real. It was a bad trade.
I was uncomfortable with the trade personally only because of what you had said. You had showed him your binder and said, hey, I collect cute stuff mostly, you know?
Yeah.
So like to me, if a fan was like, oh, what a trade, and you know, I collect cute stuff, I would have probably not traded them a fire energy.
So someone
like,
suggested that he could have like traded the fire energy for a cute card and then traded with me. And I think that would have been great.
That's what he should have done, absolutely, yeah.
It's been like so surreal, like, I don't know, like seeing people talk about it and then like actually like listening to what people are saying instead of like just jumping to like the fangirl defense, like kind of digesting it a little bit, and I'm like, maybe these people have a point. And then your video, even though I commented, you know, like in defense of him, like I watched it another time, like probably 2 weeks after that, and I was like, she kind of got a point. Honestly, just my biggest takeaway from it is just that like you can't expect people to be how they seem in your mind. Or, like, you can't expect people to live up to the expectation you've, like, built up for them. He's a human. He's not this, like... He's not the exact same as he is, you know, in his videos. He's a very sweet guy. But at the end of the day, like, no one is as perfect as you make them out to be.
Needless to say, she had a change of heart of Leonhart's video. Now, whether she decided to change her perspective and opinion because of the backlash Leonhart got, I'm not really too sure, because it's very easy to get influenced by social media and comments and I guess the majority crowd. Because if you do ask the question, hey, what if Leonhart never got the backlash for that video, would she still come to the same conclusion she did now? I think that's a personal question that I would like to ask her, at least. And I'm not trying to attack her or anything. I'm sure she's a lovely person by the looks of things. I'm just personally curious of whether her opinion would have been different under different circumstances. And even if she did sway her opinion because of the public's perception, I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. If that's the case, however, I think that shows just how powerful a majority crowd can influence somebody's opinion and make them go 180. Now, in my personal opinion, I don't think she changed her mind just because of the comments. There's also some other elements that probably prompted her to take this different opinion and maybe change her mind. One of them is this right here.
He emailed like maybe a week or 2 weeks later and was like, hey, did you get a package? And I was like, no. So he had told me that he sent me an EV SIR from Prismatic, which that's amazing. Like, I would have loved to have had that in my binder, but I guess there's two options. He says that he thinks USPS lost it. I think there's also a possibility that he forgot to send something, because within 5 minutes of me telling him I hadn't gotten anything yet, he was like, okay, I've put another package in the mail with some really cool cards. Because he said he sent me an EV SIR and then a Natu that he signed, because it's like, Natu, how do you do? Yeah, so I never got that package, but then I did get another package.
The timeline seems to be a little bit off when Leonhart says, hey, did you get the package? Oh, you lost it? Okay, I sent you another one. So some people say that perhaps that implies that Leonhart forgot about gifting those cards to her. Then he used the missing package as a scapegoat to evade responsibility. Do I think that's the case? I'm not really too sure, I'll be honest. In my opinion, I think it just could go either way. I definitely do think it's suspicious, especially it seems that he didn't give the tracking number to her, or at least the tracking number of the lost package. So that definitely does not quell the skeptics out there, that's for sure. But this in and itself is not really a major big deal in my opinion. If it does come out to be true that Leonhart did forget and use, you know, the missing package as an excuse, yeah, it's a little bit shitty in my opinion, absolutely. If Leonhart really wanted to disprove this, I'm sure he could find a little tracking number, and that would pretty much be the end of the conversation. Again, that's under the pretense that the package was in fact missing. There's a chance that this was just all a little bit of a scapegoat to, you know, evade responsibility. I'm not, you know, excluding that from the realm of possibilities, but the matter of the fact is the Mew girl did end up getting something in the end, and well, she wasn't really quite happy with it, to say the very least.
And I have a video of me opening it that I'll send to you.
Okay.
You can like just see like my face like just drop like throughout the video, because it was just vastly disappointing. I got a little package in the mail from Mr. Leonhart. I have no idea what's gonna be in this package. Okay. Oh, okay. It's some prismatic. It's the promo from one of them. Oh, there's 2 cards in there. And Terapagos EX. I'm not posting this shit. I'm sorry. It's great, but I care nothing about Terapagos. And Vaporeon's alright. It's not really up there on my list. It's a little disappointing.
So it's pretty clear that no, yeah, it's probably not her favorite card. However, at the end of the day, it's still like a $50 card, and the other one was probably what, another like $2 to $10, $20 or something like that. And I would like to mention that this was before, I believe, any of the backlash that Leonhart got, and I'm pretty sure this was before the video was even posted. Now, it is unfortunate that in the allegedly lost package, there was a EV SAR or SIR, I believe. So obviously, she's a little bit disappointed. That makes sense. And she has every right to voice her discontent. That is completely reasonable. Leonhart didn't need to do that in the first place. Was it the right move? Absolutely. Regardless of the setbacks, she did get something, although she wasn't really too pleased about that. I don't view this as a crazy thing that happened, and it doesn't really change my perspective on the original Tradeup challenge video, because we all kind of unanimously agree that it was a shit show, that Leonhart was completely out of touch. He was making a lot of unfair trades and etc. And he was leveraging his popularity for some financial gain or some more clout and etc. But apparently there's also another thing about this whole Tradeup challenge that, I'd like to address, okay? So apparently there was a video posted by Gengar's Collectibles. He was also a person that was in Leonhart's Trade-Up Challenge video.
In the end, like I said, it didn't make sense why he didn't end up giving the slab back again to the person who gave him the coin, or maybe to somebody else, you know, a kid on the show and stuff like that. That would have made the whole video way much better.
Gengar's Collectibles basically showcase the unedited, uncut interaction that they had together. Leonhart was overall, I guess, nice to the person. He wasn't like rude or anything. However, the trade was absolutely abysmal in my personal opinion. And the way it was done was just very, very weird. Because at first it started off with, you know, Leonhart's having a $260 slab. Then Gengar suggested a no rarity symbol PSA Machamp, which was $70 more than Leonhart's slab. So he's still giving him a very good trade. But because apparently Leonhart's previous trade wasn't that good, he was trying to get more out of it. So he suggested a Gym Challenge First Edition pack, which was $400.
No rarity.
Yeah,
Oh, it's a no rarity.
I think that's like a genuine.
I mean, I kind of want to say yes right away with that because it is a no rarity symbol. Okay, so I made you that, but I have to ask.
Yeah.
Would you do one of these packs? Assuming they're...
Oh, sure.
It was an absolutely horrible trade, and it just really showed that Leonhart was just trying to milk this whole challenge dry. And he was just being very unfair to the trades, even though these vendors, you know, agreed to it. That still doesn't really change the main criticism. And that's Leonhart was leveraging his popularity and practically swaying people into doing unfair trades with him because he's very popular, and because they're also fans of his as well, and because there's a camera right in front of them. So obviously they're going to want to, you know, give the most favorable trade they can. There's also a few goofy things that apparently was cut out from Leonhart's original video, and it was when the cameraman was basically just constantly pressing Gengar's Collectibles to mention that the card that they had was in a apparently rare graded card slab, so apparently that gives it more value or something.
Can you lift the case again?
Yeah.
Can you like close it all the way
yeah.
and open it again? Thank you.
Wait.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Thank you so much.
Yeah, for sure.
When we had that, you know, we only have these things for a few minutes.
Okay.
We're trying to emphasize that it's in a very rare cotton candy graded guard case. So can I get you mentioning that?
Oh,
Yeah, well,
I think he said it earlier
I
too.
did say it earlier, but it is in a rare graded guard type of cotton candy case, so it's a bit fancier than normal. Now, I am trading that to you.
All right.
I guess it's a bit more goofier because we got to see the behind the scenes of Leonhardt's video, and it just seemed very, I guess, stage-like. It didn't seem really authentic, which, I mean, I'm not really surprised, to be honest, and I don't really think that changes my overall perspective of the video in its entirety. The main criticism pretty much remains the same exact thing. That's my thoughts on it, and a lot of people wanted to know my take, wanted to know whether my opinion, my stances have dramatically changed because of the new information that came to light. If there is some information that does come to light in the near future that Leonhart did in fact not send out the EVSAR to Courtney, then yeah, that would be pretty and very scummy in all honesty. But as it stands, I really don't have the conclusive proof to say that it is true. Now, before I end off this video, I will say that I do think there is a lot of disproportionate hate that goes out to Leonhart. And I think this is something that a lot of people refuse to recognize, is that you can criticize somebody while also recognizing that, yeah, some of the hate they get, some of the backlash, sometimes is unwarranted. But people refuse to admit that because at the end of the day, it would seem hypocritical. Leonhardt's video deserves a lot of freaking criticism. But at this point, in my observation, I do feel like we're crossing that boundary just a little bit. I feel like a lot of people are radicalized by the opposition. The more people hate on Leonhart, in my opinion, the more odds that people ignoring any criticism that Leonhart gets continues to grow. It's a reaction to an action, and it's the same for vice versa. The more people defend Leonhart's actions, the more people excuse the valid criticism that he gets, it also creates an opposition of people totally disregarding any level of nuance and just being very radicalized by this point of view. I want more people to recognize that there is a lot of nuance to different subjects, because in the end, I think it'll benefit conversations, opinions as a whole. The closer we are to understanding both perspectives and giving them the benefit of the doubt, the closer we are to strengthening our own opinion. But yeah, that's pretty much all I really wanted to talk about. I gave you guys a little bit of a recap because some people were requesting that, and I gave a little bit of an update about my stance on the overall subject. Do I think, Leonhart's case got worse? Did it get better? And etc. In my personal opinion, I think my stance pretty much remains the exact same as it was. The main criticism, in my opinion, was already preferenced a long time ago. One thing that became more clear to me, I guess, not really changed my opinion, but one thing that became more clear is that there is a lot of radicalized people, for one reason or the other, that will refuse any level of nuance in a situation, and that either stems from ignorance, stubbornness, or simply just fear of being looked upon as a hypocrite. Because if you take the middle ground or give one side the benefit of the doubt, then both sides are going to come after you, and both of them are going to call you a hypocrite. So I guess it almost feels more comforting that you have one enemy than two, I guess. But yeah, that's pretty much my opinion on the subject. Hope you guys enjoy this recap bonanza, and yeah, see you guys later.
せーのでもそんなんじゃダメもうそんなんじゃほら心は進化する